to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Donna Blanchard.
And I'm Sachi Slomoff.
In our show this time, we'll take a look at the District Science Fair competition for the Hawaii Independent Association of Schools at Iolani.
We looked at both junior and senior exhibits, and there were some really impressive ones with very impressive kids.
We went to Iolani School on Saturday, February 21st. First, we saw the junior projects at Iolani's Seton Hall. These are the projects of 6th to 8th graders. There were about 200 entries in all.
Okay, behavioral sciences has a lot to do with psychology and the human race and how to improve it. So we have here 22 projects, and of the projects, this is one that I chose to speak about. The child thought of this project because she had an autistic friend and wanted to know something about personal space. Autistic children or people do not like to get too close to each other or to other people. What she did was she took normal people, 400 subjects, and had them and measured the personal space. It's very hard to compare the behavioral sciences with the physical sciences, the biology, and all the others, because if you're calling it a science fair, we're talking about a lot of technical things.
The junior projects cover grades 6, 7, and 8. And we also have a senior project division, which will be across the way in the Sullivan Center. If you've never attended a science fair before, it's a very interesting process. We see the gamut of 17 different categories, everything from animal sciences, plant sciences, physics and astronomy, chemistry, to name a few, as well as behavioral sciences and different types of engineering. Every year I'm really awed because a lot of these students have spent a whole year working at devising a project, thinking up an original science project, and thinking of a way to conduct the experiment, as well as present the experiment here in front of a group of very rigorous judges who are professionals in their fields. The cream of the crop from this fair will be eligible to go on to states, and the state competition will be held in March. Very, very few senior projects, and only the senior projects get to advance to the very top level, which is the International Science Fair, ISEF. And this year in May, ISEF will be held in Pittsburgh. The state of Hawaii, we have 9 district fairs. This is one of the largest because we take all the private schools that are on Oahu, and which is a lot of entries usually. But we also have district fairs that are for Honolulu, and that's most of the public schools in Honolulu, Oahu. We have 2 district fairs on the Big Island, one on the west side and one on the east side. So we have one in Maui, and the kids from Molokai actually fly over to Maui to compete in that one. This takes more than just one day of judging because they have to prepare in advance. Many of them have to prepare themselves to judge a cluster. So it's not just their own specialty, but something that's related also. I think we had the largest category was our chemistry category, but as you know, there are many different types of chemistry. So we have specialists from all, and this year I was overwhelmed with the number of enthusiastic and qualified judges.
My project is about testing 2 different criminal lineups. My problem is, will a lineup of people by physical strength or by height receive more accurate results? The conclusion to my project is that the lineup by physical strength was more accurate.
This is my science project, Alternative Cleaning Solutions. And it is to see if condiments such as ketchup, mustard, and hot sauce could clean metals such as coins, like nickel and penny, for example.
This is my project, Remember with Exercise, and I wanted to know if exercise improves memory, and I found out that it indeed does.
My project is about using paper chromatography to tell which kinds of dyes are in different types of candies.
So for this project, my title is Digital Inter-Island Solar Communication. So for this project, I created a digitally controlled heliograph. So using my computer, I enter a message to be transmitted into a computer program that I assembled. And this computer program converts text into Morse code. So right now, the microcontroller is sending electrical signals to the relay. The relay is an electrically operated switch that sends 9 volts of electricity from this battery to the solenoid. And the solenoid is an electromagnet that moves horizontally to tilt the mirror. The tilting mirror reflects sunlight to the distant target.
My project title is called I Like to Move It, and I built this robotic hand. It is made out of straws, wires, servo motors, an Arduino keyboard, a breadboard, and a battery pack. So what I do is there are 5 push buttons on the breadboard so that when I push it, the finger will move as the servo rotates from 0 degrees to 180 degrees, which is what the Arduino tells it to do, and this function is called sweep function. I learned how the human hand works, and I also learned how to program the Arduino keyboard and how to program different things, and I'm going to be interested in electrical engineering probably when I grow up.
My project is to find if there's a difference between expensive and cheap toothpaste and whitening your teeth, and I found out that there is quite a difference because the most expensive one was the best toothpaste, but the second cheapest one is the second best. So it more depends on the quality instead of the price.
I tested different SPFs, or sun protection factor. So the purpose of my experiment was to observe which sunscreens are the most effective and efficient in protecting the skin from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays.
My project was testing to see whether oil-based sunscreen and alcohol-based sunscreen would cause more damage to coral, and my data supported that my hypothesis was correct, and oil-based sunscreen caused more damage than alcohol-based.
And what my project is about is by planting 3 different groups of plants. A control group where I water it regularly, like how you usually farm a plant. And then my second group is the salinity group. I found out that the drought actually starts to grow, but it dies right after. And to my surprise, the salinity group actually grew a little bit.
Well, my project is just testing the effects of aquaponics and hydroponics on the growth of Manoa lettuce, and my planting soil was my control. So aquaponics and hydroponics have been around for a very long time. Aquaponics was thought to be originally created by the Aztec tribe because they didn't have any fertile land to grow their crops on. So they made little floating islands out of bushes and different materials, and they just put the plants on top. And for hydroponics, I actually had to dig through a lot, but I found out that it was mainly developed by the Greeks, and one of the prime examples is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. And planting soil's always been around for a long time. So I actually found out that planting soil was the best.
What I did for my project is I grew morning glory plants, and then I figured out the thigmotrophism, which is when the plant will grow in a certain way to curl around a stick or a stick. I also did where the plant will, depending on the water that I put into it, that it will grow straight down or it'll grow out.
There's a ton of different brands, but I used the Callaway Warbird ball, Precept Extra Spin, and TaylorMade Practice ball, but the Callaway Warbird ball was the ball that won the experiment. I know that's the best one because I tested 3 different balls. My dad teaches golf.
I was interested in, out of 3 temperatures, what temperature rotifers, which are plankton, could reproduce and sustain the highest population at the best. And I figured out that I was examining 3 temperatures, which were 20 to 25 degrees Celsius water, 30 to 35 degree water, and 40 to 45 degree water. And I found out that the 20 to 25 degree water, they increased the most in population over 5 days, and they increased 60,000. And the 30 to 35 degree water, they increased 15,000. And the 40 to 45 degree water decreased 8,100. The plankton are a key part of the food chain, and without them, the whole rest of the animals in the ocean would be affected.
It was hard, it was stressful, there was a lot of work that I had to do, and counting the rotifers was really hard. It took a long time, but I think it was worth it because at the end I learned a lot.
My project is which botanical extract is most effective at repelling Aedes mosquitoes in Hawaii. What inspired me to do this project was that I could not go into my backyard without getting bitten by mosquitoes. So I bought a plant that was labeled mosquito plant at a store, which is the Citrosa. And then when I went to Walmart a different time, I found 3 other plants, the marigold, rosemary, and the lemongrass, which were also labeled mosquito plants. So I thought that would make a good science fair project to see which one would best repel them.
This is my science fair project, Kicking Science with Soles, Tips, and Laces. My hypothesis or my inquiry question was that if I change point of contact with my foot on the ball, when I strike it, then it will change the distance the ball will travel because the area of contact on the foot, on the ball, and the laws of motion. And the laws of motion that I applied to my project were friction and inertia. Friction is what stops something when it's in motion. Inertia means that if something is not in motion, it stays not in motion. If something is in motion, it stays in motion. And what I did was I built a kicking device out of wood that was capable of 3 kicks. The sole kick, which was the bottom, the toe kick, which was the middle of the toe, and the laces kick, which was the top of the foot, laces part. And the laces kick went farther, I think because the area of contact was larger. Most people prefer the laces kick to kick with because they think it would go farther. And I mean, that was what I thought would go farther, so yeah. The sole kick, it actually pushed the ball into the ground, creating more friction, and that stopped it. The toe kick, it didn't have as much of a good point of contact, so it was more in the middle. The average is what I was looking for, and the higher average was the laces kick. And that's how I proved that the laces kick goes farther.
The students were amazing, and many of the science projects were extremely intense and complicated, and the students presented them very eloquently. It was really fun, and many of the students, I believe, got a lot out of it. They learned about science. They interacted with their peers who were also interested in science, which is really great. And it was just so much fun for the judges to talk with these enthusiastic students. I am a science teacher at Iolani, and I teach 11th and 12th grade physics, and I love to see these younger kids coming up. Many of the younger students were doing things that I teach in 11th and 12th grade science. They were doing them already, and so they'll be ready for much more advanced things later on, 2 or 3 years from now, and it's just a really great experience for everyone.
My project is about intra-articular magnetic grafts as a replacement for Tommy John surgery or ulnar collateral ligament reconstruction. So through this project, I made a ligament out of neodymium magnets that had a better effect on joint stability than the native UCL or the actual Tommy John surgery. And through testing, I was able to prove that it was able to give joint stability better. It just wasn't as strong as the native UCL.
My project was to see a renewable energy called pumped storage hydroelectricity could solve Hawaii's electrical grid problems.
My project is a double wall pipe invention, so it's inventing a new redesigned double wall pipe invention. I found out that just a small idea can lead to bigger things, and this could be the solution for lots of pipe leakage.
My project is on asteroids. It's on how does the magnitude of the asteroid how does it affect the variation in magnitude indicate an unusual shape. I got my data from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and I worked with astronomers around the world to help collect my data. And my data shows that the larger asteroids, if you can see here the 22-kilometer one, it appears that it variates much less than the smaller asteroids. Smaller asteroids like this one, which vary much more.
My project is called Windproof Roof. I would make these houses, then different kinds of roofs, and then I put them in this wind tunnel and blow them with these fan. My experiment was to see which houses would do better in high winds and hurricanes, which ones wouldn't tip over, and these two did the best.
Then we went across to the 3rd floor of the Sullivan Science Center at Iolani to see the senior projects there.
So my project is heavily focused on metastasis. And metastasis occurs when cells from a primary tumor mass, I'm talking about cancer now, invade other areas of the body. And this is what actually 90% of all cancer-related deaths is due to this process. So looking at cell migration is important. And to look at that, we need to look at what can essentially be called the speed of the cell. So we look at these things called integrins. So integrins, the first step of migration is for an integrin to lose binding, to internalize in a cell, and then to reattach to its microenvironment. This constant recycling is what causes a cell to move.
My project was on the antibacterial and cytotoxic analysis of Ohia lehua, or Metrosideros polymorpha. My Hawaiian name is Kalehua, which literally translates into the lehua. I was named after the Ohia lehua specifically from the Kohala Ridge on the Big Island. My project, I tested the bacterial assay and a cytotoxicity assay against the leaf and the blossom parts of the plant.
I basically did my project on the wheelie wheelie, or the Erythrina sanwicensis. Now I came across this plant when I saw it at our school, and I kind of like to see plants change and develop over time. So I basically saw it change from the fall to the winter seasons of this school year, and I decided to do my research project on it. Since this is a native plant that's endemic to the Hawaiian Islands, it's very important that we go and research these types of plants.
For my project, I researched animals living in the deep sea. After World War II ended, the military had a whole bunch of unused military munitions, which are chemical as well as conventional. So their only solution was to dump these munitions just outside of Pearl Harbor. In 2012, 2 time-lapse cameras were deployed, and their goal was to search for life living on these munitions. However, there was no control for this experiment, meaning there was no observations for any animals living in their natural environment at this extreme 550-meter depth. So my goal for my project was to construct a new time-lapse camera system to go down to 500 meters and take pictures of animals living in their natural habitat. I deployed my deep sea camera system down at the bottom of the ocean at 550 meters depth, and it took 6,500 pictures of life living on a coral boulder down at that extreme environment. And what I discovered was that the animals that lived on the coral boulder were extremely similar to the animals that lived on the military munitions. So I concluded that these military munitions were no longer posing a threat to the environment, but rather functioning as artificial habitats for the animals at 550 meters depth.
They had the Senior Project Award ceremony for the district winners shortly after our visit. For us, we like and celebrate not only the winners, but all the students that enter.
We'll be going to the State Science Fair at the Hawaii Convention Center on March 23rd and 24th to take a look at the hundreds of projects that will be in competition and talk with the fantastic kids who put them together.
Thanks to Holly Lindsay of Iolani School and Song Choi of the School of Engineering at UH Manoa for showing us around and introducing us to the students. They are both huge and long-standing supporters of the Science Fair and science in Hawaii.
All in all, this was confirmation yet again of the competence and enthusiasm of Hawaii's kids in science. They can hardly wait, and we can hardly wait either, for the State Science Fair.
Every kid, every project, every moment at the State Science Fair takes us closer to a tech workforce and a tech industry and diversified economy. We've got to do everything we can to keep them engaged.
Want to see what's going on at the Hawaii Academy of Science? Go to hawaiiacademyofscience.org and take a look. It will show you what's happening. Then make a plan to go to the science fair and support these kids.
If you're really committed, why don't you also volunteer to be a judge at the science fair? In any event, why don't you encourage your kids to participate? If not this year, then next. You'll be glad you did, and so will they.
And now let's take a look at our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech broadcasts its talk shows live on the internet from noon to 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon. If you missed a show or want to replay or share any show, they're all archived on YouTube.
Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links, or to join our email list and get these links and program advisories on our upcoming shows.
We also invite you to be a part of our live audience in our downtown studio in Pioneer Plaza. Contact Jay at thinktechhawaii.com. Raise your awareness in every way on ThinkTech.
And now, here's this week's ThinkTech commentary.
I'm Donna Blanchard, and this is a ThinkTech commentary. I'd like to talk about speed as it relates to leadership. Harvard Business Review recently published an article written by Jack Zenger that explored the question, do you have to be able to move quickly to be a great leader? The answer is yes. It's obvious that business is moving faster and faster, and to keep up, leaders at all levels need to know how to pick up the pace. 360-degree feedback evaluations on more than 50,000 leaders were examined to assess the impact of overall leadership effectiveness. A speed index was created to measure speed in 3 simple ways: how well a leader can spot problems or trends early, can respond to problems quickly, and can swiftly make needed changes. What Zenger and his team found was that among top leaders, 2% were judged particularly fast, but not exceptionally effective. 3% were judged, it's okay, I'll just start here. 3% were judged to be highly effective, but not particularly fast. 95% of those top leaders were judged to be both effective and quick. That is, being good is only marginally better than being quick. But the fact is that both are necessary to be perceived as an exceptional leader today. 360-degree feedback data from more than 700,000 colleagues was analyzed to glean the top 5 factors that make a leader both fast and good. They are: people who work with them trust their ability to use good judgment and make effective decisions. Trust is key. They make their vision and strategy absolutely clear to their colleagues. They don't just have a vision, they're good communicators who share the vision with their teams. They demonstrate personal courage. Moving faster often feels risky. In general, people are more comfortable working at a steady pace. Strong leaders have the courage it takes to move faster and ask others to do the same. They assemble world-class expertise and knowledge. When leaders lack expertise, they do their homework. They don't let personal pride stop them from seeking answers from others. And they set stretch goals. Easy goals are for marginal leaders. Our exceptional leaders push boundaries. Okay, let's bring this home to Hawaii. In world business, there is a common perception that everything on the island moves more slowly, that we take time to ponder and seek consensus, that pono sometimes means slow, that pono and courage seem in opposition. I think that perceived pace here is a difference in priorities rather than speed, and that making sure we stay pono does take great courage. I also think that our leaders need to evaluate our priorities vis-à-vis those with whom we do business, continue to communicate thoughtfully while humbly seeking world-class expertise, and pushing our old limits with new goals. To be respected is to be valid in the business world. Respect requires exceptional leadership, here and now. So, now you've got to ask yourself, are you an exceptional leader? If not, who are you following? I'm Donna Blanchard, and this has been a ThinkTech commentary.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Okay, Sachi, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Jay Fidel does. For additional times, check out oc16.tv.
Definitely, Donna. For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a guest, a volunteer, a producer, or intern, and help us reach Hawaii.
Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech and for supporting tech, energy, diversification, and globalism in Hawaii. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode. I'm Donna Blanchard. See you center stage.
I'm Sachi Slomoff. Aloha, everyone.
Oh.